and I want to talk about some of those opinions today. But mostly I want to talk to individuals that may not be completely familiar with what I do and why I do it.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Never read the comments. That's the advice I got when I first started doing blogging. But I have to admit, I log in every once in a while and I just get wrapped up in it. I was recently reading some comments on a blog post that I wrote, and it made me realize that there's lots of opinions out there, and that's good. That's good. And I want to talk about some of those opinions today. But mostly I want to talk to individuals that may not be completely familiar with what I do and why I do it. Today, I want to talk about some of the things that I am saying and some of the things that I am not saying, and try to clear up some miscommunication or misconceptions, I should say. I want to pause and remind you, of course, of our great sponsors. Mode. I've actually been working with Mode this morning, setting up a little bit of a new system in my office, and I'll tell you, they're so great to work with. They really are. Know what they're doing. You can check them out by going to allamode.com, or you can call them at 800-ALLAMODE. We are sponsored by Working RE Magazine. Working RE, of course, is the place that I go to find out what's going on in my business, to find out what is going on in the appraisal profession. You should be as well. Go to workingre.com. Again, it's workingre.com. Finally, we are sponsored by DataMaster. DataMaster is the ability to be able to save you 30 to 60 minutes per report. You can do so by going to datamasterusa.com, or you can go to datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. Okay, so I wanted to take just an episode, if you will, and maybe this will be a rehashing for some of you, but I just find that, man, first of all, let me say this. I am sympathetic to the attitude that there's some really crappy things that we have to deal with as appraisers. I deal with them as well. I am a boots on the ground appraiser. If there's any idea that all I do is coach and teach and write blogs and do podcasting, well, you probably don't get what I do very well. And that's okay. That's one of the reasons for the episode today. I want to take just a moment today and just kind of talk through what it is that I do and what it is that I don't do, but more importantly, what it is that I believe and what it is that I don't believe. It became very, very clear to me as I read through the comments of my most recent blog post. At this point, there'll be others, but I think the blog post was something about how we had not received a raise in 20 plus years. And the point I was trying to make, I think, was pretty clear, but obviously it wasn't. But the point I was trying to make was that, sometimes we don't figure some of the things into it, such as technology. I certainly was not making the point that technology has made everything great. That if it wasn't for technology, boy, we really would have something to complain about. But because we have technology, golly gee, beaver, things are great. That's really not what I was saying, although that's probably what some individuals thought. Okay, as I was reading through the comments, and again, don't ever read the comments. Unless you're willing to just pop some popcorn and sit back and have a nice chuckle, don't read the comments. And I'll be honest with you, folks, none of the comments surprised me. My assistant said something to me like, boy, sure were a lot of comments on your blog this time. I just laughed. I thought, it's something I've heard I think I've been doing this coaching thing for 7 years, and I've heard some of the same things over and over and over again. And let me just make it very clear. I commiserate with you. I understand. I feel some of your same pain. I do look at it a little bit differently. I do go at it from a different angle, I think. But I deal with some of the same things that you're dealing with. 85% of my work is AMC work. I mean, I get the crap that we have to deal with, the scope creep and everything else. I get it. I really do. I think. However, I do come about it from a little bit of a different angle. And that's kind of what I want to share with you today is some of those things. So this is what I want to do. I want to split this up. And the way I want to do this is I want you to imagine kind of a pro cons list, if you will. If you take a sheet of paper, you split it in half, and on one side, you've got the one thing, and then on the other side, you've got kind of its counterbalance, right? That's kind of the way I want you to visualize today's episode. And what I want you to do is split that paper in two, and on the one side, on the left side, I want you to put not saying, right? On the right side, I want you to imagine the title am saying. So on the left side, this is what I'm not saying, which a lot of people have insinuated that I am saying. And then on the right side, I want to see if I can correct the record a little bit and just talk a little bit about what I am saying. What I thought about doing was going to this in two parts and just saying, spending the first half of the episode today talking about what I'm not saying that I am sometimes being accused of saying, and then maybe taking a break for our sponsors and then coming back and talking about what I am saying. As I thought about that, I thought it might be a little bit confusing because really what we're trying to do is counterbalance each and every one of these comments. So what I've decided to do is just split it up in half. I've got, several things that I want to talk about that I'm not saying with their counterpart, with the caveat that, okay, I'm not saying this, but I am saying this. Okay. And hopefully, and what I'll do is take a sponsor break, somewhere in the middle, whenever I feel like it's time, it's ready. Right. But I do want to maybe dispel a little bit of the negativism, maybe a little bit of the myths that are being thrown around, maybe help. And please trust me, this is not supposed to be a critical episode. What I'm trying to do, my ultimate goal with today's episode is very simple. I want to take some common complaints that have merit. Let me stress that. These complaints have merit. And give you some tools, give you some ideas, give you some thought experiments that will allow you to possibly take some of those and make a better world with them. Okay. I am not saying I'm going to solve all of the appraisal world's problems today. Certainly not. What I am saying is that sometimes there is a different way. And I would even say a better way to look at things. Okay. So let's get started. Number one, I am not saying that AMCs are the bomb diddly and the end all be all, and they're super awesome. And I have nothing but support for AMCs. Okay, that's on the left side of the column. I am not saying that. I've been accused of being a shill for the AMCs. 85% of my work is AMC work. I've been criticized for that. Okay, fine. I freely admit that I work with AMCs and I find that there is a business model that works. Let me tell you what I am saying. What I am saying is that you can and should pick your clients. Okay. Do I work with all AMCs? Absolutely not. Right. Over the years, I have been able to refine my client list into what I call A clients, B clients, and no, not C clients, Y clients. Okay. An A client very quickly is an awesome client who I love working with. Their stipulations are easy. Their regulations are easy. Their scope of work is within reason. They pay me well. They pay me on time. And by the way, that is where I do the majority of my work. To help supplement that, I do work for a few B clients. B clients are pretty darn good. They pay me well, but they maybe take 45 days to do it. Maybe they have a little bit longer engagement letter than I would like, but I've learned to work well with them. I've learned what they like, what they don't like, and it still fits my business model. What I don't work with is C clients. C clients are Y clients. Y clients are why the hell am I working for you? And the next step in that is to fire them and to move on. In other words, I am not saying that AMCs are great. I am saying that there are great AMCs out there, and you can find wonderful clients to work with. Okay, number 2, we don't have problems with the current system. That is not what I'm saying. There are some major problems with the current system. Okay. What am I saying? I'm saying that we need to work to change the system. I am a huge advocate of getting involved with your local coalitions, your regional coalitions, your state coalitions, your national coalitions, your national groups and organizations, your friends and peers that are other appraisers or those that are interested in the appraisal field. I have always been a huge advocate of getting involved to help to change the system. We should not just sit back. In fact, that's the other thing that I'm not saying. Let's go to number 3. I am not saying that we raise our hands and surrender and beg for mercy, that it is what it is. The system is what it is. And by damn it, I'm just going to have to get up and just do my thing because that just is what it is. That is not what I'm saying, and is not what I would advocate. No way. Okay. What am I saying? What I am saying is that we must at some level, okay, follow me here. Don't turn it off. We must at some level accept what our reality is, and don't turn off the knob, and find ways to work within it. That should not negate the prior thing that I just said, that we work to change the system. Okay. What I've been accused of in the past, mostly in private communication, but some public, is individuals are saying that I just, go with the system and just work within the system and it is what it is and I'm going to choose to be happy anyway. No, folks, we absolutely should get involved in the political system. And when I say political, I'm not necessarily talking about your senators and your congressmen and your voting. I'm talking about the political system that is the appraisal system, that is the finance system, that is the problems that we find ourselves in. And some, rightfully so, are indicating that we may have problems down the road like we had in 2008, right? We see sometimes the writing on the wall. We absolutely need to get involved, but don't misunderstand. At some level, let's just take reality here, folks. At some level, you have to say, okay, here's what we currently have. I'm going to work to change it. I don't really like it. But at some level, you have to some days stand up and say, okay, here's our system. Here's our reality. What is it that I can do to work within that reality and still make a profit and still pay my bills at the end of the day? Okay. What is it that I can do to say, okay, at some level, I have to say, here's our current system. I'm going to still work to change it, but here's our current system. What can I do to find ways to work within the system that allows me to be a better person, a better appraiser, a better provider for my family, and happy with the profitability of being an appraiser? Okay. I do not subscribe to this attitude that, well, we'll get to that. I just don't sneak peek, right? I don't subscribe to the attitude that our reality is what it is and it sucks, but we're going to have to get up and do it anyway, right? We're working within the system to change the system, but we also have to change ourselves. We also have to change our business model. We also have to find a way to make a living. Okay. Number 4, I am not saying it isn't hard. I know that maybe flies in the face of what you just heard. If you just heard that from me, you misheard me. Okay. It is hard. It is challenging. It is difficult. Okay. But so is everything else. Find a way to make it work. Man, I'll tell you, I have so many contacts in the, what I call outside the appraisal world, right? My best friend is an insurance agency owner, a partner. Okay. This individual deals with the kind of crap that you wouldn't even believe. I mean, you think we've got it bad, and we do. You ought to be in the insurance agency world, the insurance industry. You ought to see what crap they have to deal with, the laws, the red tape, the scope creep, the stipulations, the regulations, it is insane. But guess what? He chooses to be in that field and he chooses to make something of it. Folks, you have on some level have accepted to be or made the choice to be an appraiser. Because of that choice, you on some level have decided that, you know what, it's still worth it. It is still worth it. I often get, he's backed off a lot, but I kind of have an individual that gets on my blogs a lot by the name of Bill. And he complains and he says, how much better my life is than his and that I have it so much better because I live in Idaho and he lives in California. And listen, some of what he says has merit, but in the end, doesn't Bill and Dustin and Joan and Mary and Jason and everyone else have the choice to whether or not they're going to continue appraising? I mean, last time I checked, we still live in a free country and we can still make our choice. I know it's not that easy, folks. I know, trust me, I'm not saying that you can pick up and become a lawyer tomorrow, right? But you could work in that direction if that is where you would rather spend your time. In other words, my point is, yeah, it is hard. It absolutely is hard. But so is everything else. And at some point, we make a decision to continue to do what we do. At some point, every single day, we wake up and we say, you know what? Even though there's some really sucky things about what I do, I still choose to be an appraiser today. I may be working to do something different. I may be working on a business on the side that I hope takes off and soon I can retire. Whatever your thing is, folks. And trust me, I have never been an advocate that appraising should be your only gig. I absolutely am an advocate of multiple streams of income. And I have no problem with somebody that says, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of the rigmarole. I'm tired of what I have to deal with. And by golly, I'm going to go out and do something different. Well, hallelujah and praise the Lord. Go for it. I think that's great. That's the kind of country we live in, that we have an opportunity to move on and to do something different than what we are doing currently. Okay. Next, I am not saying that costs are not high. I don't know where this started. I don't know what I possibly said in the past that make me, that others reach out and they say, why do you think things are so cheap? I don't. Trust me, folks, I get it. I understand my numbers sometimes better than I should. I'm a little bit of a geek that way. I run a profit loss statement every quarter. I run a balance sheet every quarter in every one of my businesses, and I pay very close attention to the numbers. I get it. Things are spendy. Overhead is costly. But I'll tell you something, folks. On the flip side of that, just because I have dealt with other industries I've mentioned here before, I've been in mastermind groups with other business owners that are not appraisers, and they have shared their detailed spread. When I say spread, I'm talking about the net after the overhead is taken care of. I'm telling you, folks, we've got it pretty good. I have a friend that's in the grocery business, folks, and his margins are like 2%. Okay? I mean, it is insane. When you drop those eggs on the floor in the aisle, it may not seem like a big deal when they just swoop in and say, no problem, ma'am, we'll clean it up. But I'm telling you, that is, they factor that stuff in, but that stuff hurts. The restaurant business, no different. I've got a buddy that runs, I think he's got 21 restaurants now at this point. And I'm telling you, somebody drops a steak on the ground and they have to recook that steak. That's a big hit for the night. Okay, it's a big hit for the night. Our margins are pretty darn good. I know it doesn't seem that way because it may be the only gig you're involved in, but trust me, just trust me on this. Yes, costs are high. I'm not saying they're not. What I am saying is that the spread in our industry is actually pretty darn good. Okay, moving on. What I am not saying that we are not asked to do some crappy things and that our lives never suck. Right? Trust me, I have days when I wonder what the hell I'm doing as an appraiser, okay? The appraiser coach just said it. You can quote me. There are days that I wake up when I wonder why the hell I keep doing what I'm doing. Trust me. And sometimes they're more frequent and last longer than I want them to, okay? What I am saying is it is hard. It's hard to be a small business owner, but I would not trade that for anything in the world. Okay. Let me give you an example before we go to the break. I am recording this podcast from home today. It is 11:12 a.m. In 32 minutes, I am getting in my car with my two boys and their friends, and we are driving 20 minutes east. And in about an hour and a half from now, about 90 minutes from now, I will be on the first lift going up the hill to go skiing with my kids, and I will be up there till the evening time. And it is a Tuesday. It's not a Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, in a couple of days, on Friday morning, I'm getting up in the morning and I'm picking up some of my kids' friends and a friend of mine, and we are driving 4 hours north to go to a ski resort that we've never been to. And I'm going to spend the entire day Friday, which should be a working day, and all day Saturday. So 2 days we're going skiing. Now, folks, I'm sorry. I just don't see a lot of my neighbors and associates and other people that I rub shoulders with on a daily basis having that same kind of freedom. Now, I know a lot of you are screaming at your earbuds right now saying, well, Dustin, I don't have that same kind of freedom either, damn it, because I'm an appraiser and I work 60 plus hours a week. I get it. I do. I've been there. There is a better way. And I want to talk about that when we get back from the break, what that better way looks like. But first want to remind you, of course, that we are sponsored by 3 great companies that give us a better way of doing things. One of them is Working RE Magazine. Gives us the ability to be able to really see what's going on. Today, we're talking about the place we find ourselves in as appraisers. The idea that our industry is changing. We're going to talk about change. How do we know about what's going on? How do we even know what to do to affect that change? I'll tell you where I go. It's Working RE Magazine. They are the most informed outlet out there and the most on top of things. If you want a one-stop shop to find out what's going on in the appraisal industry, well, okay, two-stop shop. Ready? theappraisercoach.com and Working RE Magazine. That's all you need. You'll know exactly what's going on and how you need to handle it coming forward. I love Working RE because it allows me to really understand what's going on in the appraisal industry. Go to workingre.com for more information. Just jump on your browser, www.workingre.com. You know, one of the ways that makes my life so much easier is being able to utilize technology to work together to allow me to do more with less. And 2 great companies that are both sponsors here that allow me to do that, and they work in tandem with one another, is Alamode and Datamaster. Datamaster, of course, is coming out with Datamaster 6. It's rolling across the country, but right now, the 1.0, if you will, Datamaster 1.0, will save you 30 to 60 minutes per report. That is not just a number I throw out. I've talked today about the fact that I'm kind of a geek with numbers. I'm telling you, minimum saves me 30 minutes per report. It will save you as much as 60 minutes per report. Every report. Think about the time savings over a month. It is not a cost. It is an investment. Go to datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. One more time, datamasterfreetrial.com/coach. Once you do that, make sure you're with Alamode software. Alamode will allow you to be able to utilize the tools, the tips, the efficiencies, the built-in systems in their software, which will allow you to be able to save all kinds of time and have higher quality reports, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Higher quality reports, less time. That is Alamode. If you've not checked them out, find out why they are the leader in the industry as far as software goes for appraisers. Go to alamode.com, pick up the phone if you want, call them. They'll talk to you. Great sales team. Alamode is at 800 Alamode. That's 800 Alamode or alamode.com. And we are back. We're talking today about what I am not saying and what I am saying. All right. I get accused of saying a lot of things that I don't believe. I've never really said, and that's fine. You know, honestly, and I really mean this sincerely. When I chose to become an appraiser coach, when I chose to share some of these ideas and systems and abilities and thoughts and principles with other appraisers, I knew I was painting a target on my back, and it's okay. At first, it used to bother me. I used to have a little icon, a folder in my email that was labeled hate mail, and it just got filled up and filled up. And I just, it actually kind of drove me nuts to begin with. And I kind of kept track of it, and it really bothered me. It doesn't anymore. It really doesn't. I mean, bring it on, whatever. I just know what works for me. I know that I've had an opportunity to deal with appraisers across the country in my mastermind groups, my Appraiser Academy, the All-Star Team, one-on-one consulting and mentoring. I'm telling you, folks, there's really kind of a dichotomy. There really is kind of a chasm, if you will. And I'll freely admit the numbers are highly skewed on the Appraisersaurus side. There are far more appraisers out there who hate their life than there are who are willing to look at things from a different angle. I'm not even talking to appraisersauruses today. I am not even talking to that other side of the crowd because it doesn't matter to me. They are what they are, and they're doing what they're doing. And I'm more about individuals who want to accept the realities. I certainly hope that I am not coming across in a Pollyanna type way that everything's great and nobody has anything to complain about. I certainly deal with my share of problems and challenges and difficulties. But, and there's a big but, I think there's a better way, a different way to look at it. And that's what we're talking about today. Okay, let's continue. What am I not saying? Specific to the blog post that brought all of this in I am not saying, despite what the blog post talked about, I am not saying that tech solves all of our problems. I know that's the impression people get, but sometimes they read a blog post and they take it in isolation. You can't do that. I mean, I've got, I don't know what, 300-400 blog posts out there. I've got close to, 250 podcast episodes out there. I've got a lot of information out there. Okay. Don't take one blog post and say, well, God, golly, is Dustin saying he's just going to be able to solve the whole world peace problem with technology? Okay. I mean, sorta, sure. Yeah. I guess that blog post might have approached that. My idea of that blog post and any blog post is to take one aspect of a very huge spectrum and focus on that and say, hey, here's maybe a different thing to think about. Okay. I am not saying that tech solves all of our problems. What I am saying is that tech is not the perfect solution. It's not, but we need to implement it more, not less. Technology. Okay. Software, hardware. These things will help us to be better appraisers and more efficient. As we just talked about, a la mode, Data Master. These things help us to do more with less. They're technology that allows us to be more creative, to be more efficient, and to have higher quality reports. Okay, that's what I am saying. What I am not saying, that you shove all of your work off onto some schmuck and hope it goes well. Okay, I've been accused of that as well, Bill. What I am saying is that the law of delegation works. It truly does. Now, it's not for everyone, but it can allow you to do more with less if you implement it correctly. Okay? The law of delegation is huge if you learn to utilize it. And yes, you can utilize it in the appraisal world even. Okay? There's a way to do it, which is some of the things that we're teaching across the country in the different membership groups that I have. Okay. What I am not saying is that we keep doing what we've always done. I'm not saying that. A lot of people are saying that. The appraiser coach is not saying that. Okay. What I am saying is that systems need to be developed. They need to be managed. They need to be refined constantly. Develop systems, manage your systems, and refine your systems where they can be made better. Please understand, folks, I am not one of these that will advocate for getting up and doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. We as business owners, and by the way, that is key here, we have to put on that CEO hat, okay? We have to work in our businesses most of the time, sure. But we need to pause every once in a while to work on our businesses and to make them better and more efficient. We need to be able to change what's happening. Okay. And specifically what's happening within our own processes. Okay. What I am not saying, I am not advocating, if you've ever read this between the lines of things that I've said or written, then you're just wrong. I am not advocating cheap and fast. I've been accused of it. I've been accused of the appraisal mill standard. That is not what I advocate. And if you think that, you don't know much about my systems. If you want to know about my system, folks, it's called the Go Create Some Value Workshop. Yeah, it costs some money, Bill. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a 10-hour course that teaches you how to completely transform your appraisal business. If you want to know what I do, folks, it's right there on the internet for anybody and everybody to see, right? If you, after getting done with those 10 hours of instruction, think that I'm advocating cheap and fast, well, I guess I can't help you at that point. But those of you who make comments and say, Dustin just mills these appraisals out, and he's just the old appraisal factory. The problems that we got into in the 2000s were because of this type of standard. Well, I'm going to guess you don't know much about my system. I do not advocate cheap and fast. What I do advocate for is that we look at quality, okay? That we look at quality control, that we look at the ability to be able to constantly monitor what we're doing, that our key to longevity is high quality reports. You cannot be in business for very long if you are one of those appraisers that cut corners. I know some of you are screaming, say, well, I got those all over in my market. They're picking up these appraisals for $250 and they're kicking them out in 2 days. And how the hell can they do that kind of thing? Listen, I get it. There's some idiots out there. There really are. Okay. And far too many of them. But I'm telling you, there is a better way. I'm telling you that there is a way to keep your fees high and your quality high and to work for high quality clients. And it's not easy, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Okay. What I am not saying is that all changes are awesome. Okay. I don't know if I've ever been accused of that, but sometimes that's the what is that damn word? Yeah. Sometimes people think that that's the way I see things. And I'm sorry, I don't. I'll tell you what I do see. I do see that changes are coming. Big changes are coming. And I'll tell you, there's always a choice. There's always 3 choices with change, right? You can accept them as is. By the way, I don't advocate that. You can fight against them. I don't really advocate that either. And hear me out, because number 3 is a combination of the first 2. Okay. Fight the things you don't like, but also be able to realize that change is part of reality. I don't know what the appraisal world will look like in 3 to 5 years. I certainly have a prediction. It's something that I will talk about very soon on a podcast about where I see the appraisal industry, the appraisal profession. We as appraisers, what does our job look like in 3 to 5 years? I certainly see some of the writing on the wall. But here's the thing. I look at change in such a way that, first of all, it is reality. Second of all, we can and should fight against the change that we don't like, the change that will not be beneficial to us. But number 3, on some level, we have to say, hey, change is inevitable. And if I want to be an appraiser in the future, if I want to be profitable in the future, I've got to be able to predict what that change looks like and be able to do something about it. Okay? All right. As we close up, I am not saying that life sucks. I'm just not one that subscribes to that. I am one that subscribes to life is good and it's going to get better. Maybe I'm an eternal optimist. I don't think so. I think I'm a realist. I think that I can see the glass half full and half empty. I just see the glass for what it is. That there's a cup of water in a 2-cup volume glass, right? So what do we do with that? What is it that we do with the information that we received? I hope this podcast has not been too negative. I hope that maybe some myths and some clarifications have been made. I hope that overall you get a sense of my general attitude. If you haven't heard it yet, let me repeat it as we close up here. I love what I do. I really do. I love being a small business owner. I like being an appraiser. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I enjoy change. I enjoy looking on the horizon and seeing that the things are changing. And what am I going to do to still be a profitable and highly successful appraiser in the future? I love that kind of thing. I love being able to look at reality and saying, you know what, I'm going to look at reality a little bit different than most of the crowd does. And I love teaching it to other people. Folks, I hope that you have a positive outlook on what's happening in the appraisal world. I hope that you, in your own lives, in your own businesses, in your own families and relationships, constantly look at the ability to make things better. And with that comes a dose of reality. that things are not always great, but I hope that our general attitude is upward and onward. That at least 82% of the time, my 82% rule, you'll learn about that in the Go Create Some Value workshop as well, by the way. At least 82% of the time, you're happy, you're motivated, you're excited, and you're enjoying what you do. Speaking about enjoying what you do, I've mentioned several times here the Go Create Some Value workshop. I'm going to give you a coupon, make your life a little easier. Okay, just use the coupon code podcast at checkout to get a pretty significant discount there. Okay, podcast, go to my website, theappraisercoach.com, click on the products, and look for the Go Create Some Value. If you want a foundation to completely change the way you do things as an appraiser, that's a great place to start. Thank you for starting today with the Appraiser Coach podcast. I appreciate my listeners more than you can ever know. I appreciate the support that you give to the sponsors here, and can't wait to see you and listen and talk at you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
If there's any insinuation,